The message came through every screen on Earth at the same time. Princess Lyria's face appeared, beautiful and terrible. Her skin looked like purple crystal, shifting and glowing with inner light. She was not human, and she made sure everyone knew she thought humans were beneath her. "People of Earth," she said, her voice cold and sharp, "I am Princess Lyria of the Valtheri Empire. We have watched your species crawl into space like insects leaving their nest. You are weak. You are primitive. You achieved spaceflight through luck, not skill." Kang Tae watched the broadcast from the military base cafeteria. Around him, other soldiers sat in shocked silence. The princess continued speaking, her crystalline skin turning darker purple with each word. "The Valtheri Empire controls half this galaxy. We have decided to offer you a choice. Become our vassals, serve us, and you will be protected. Refuse, and we will remove you like the parasites you are." The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then the room erupted in angry voices. Tae just sat there, his coffee getting cold in his hands. He had fought in the colony wars. He had seen good people die. And now some alien princess was calling them insects. "Can you believe that?" Yuna dropped into the seat next to him. She was the communications officer in his unit, and one of his closest friends. "She talked to us like we're nothing." "She believes it," Tae said quietly. You could see it in her eyes. 3 weeks later, Earth's government agreed to negotiations. Nobody wanted war with an empire that controlled half the galaxy. The meeting would happen at Helios Gate, a neutral space station between territories. Tae's unit got assigned to security detail. Captain Han Wu briefed them in the transport ship on the way there. "The Valtheri delegation includes the princess herself. Remember, we're here to protect everyone, even if they don't respect us. Stay professional." When they arrived at Helios Gate, Tae saw Valtheri people for the first time in person. They were tall and elegant, their crystalline skin glowing in different colors. They moved with absolute confidence, like they owned the universe. Princess Lyria walked through the station surrounded by her guards. When she saw Tae's unit standing at their posts, her skin flashed bright violet. That meant anger, Tae had learned from the briefing. She walked straight up to him. "You are the human security?" "Yes, Your Highness," Tae said, keeping his voice neutral. "Pathetic." She raised one hand, and suddenly Tae's rifle flew out of his grip. It hung in the air between them, held by her telekinetic power. "You rely on tools because you have no real strength. Your bodies are soft. Your minds are simple. You will never be anything more than what you are now." She dropped the rifle at his feet and walked away. Tae picked it up, his jaw tight. Yuna gave him a sympathetic look, but said nothing. What could she say? The negotiations dragged on for hours. Tae and his unit stood guard outside the conference rooms, watching Valtheri soldiers look down at them with barely concealed contempt. Then the alarms started screaming. "Breach in Sector 7!" someone shouted over the comms. "We're under attack!" The Skrull were an insectoid race that had been raiding the outer colonies. Now they were here, and they had brought an army. Explosions rocked the station. People started running in every direction. "All units, protect the VIPs and get them to the escape ships." Captain Han Wu's voice cut through the chaos. "Move!" Tae's unit ran toward the conference rooms. They found Princess Lyria separated from her guards, trapped by collapsed corridor walls. She was using her telekinetic powers to hold up a falling ceiling beam, but even she was struggling. "Your Highness, we need to move!" Tae shouted. "I don't need help from humans!" she snapped, her skin flashing purple even as she strained against the weight. Another explosion shook the station. The beam started to slip. Tae and his team moved in anyway, helping evacuate the other people trapped nearby. Lyria watched them work, her expression unreadable. "This way!" Yuna called out. finding a service corridor that was still intact. They moved through the damaged station in a group. Tay led, with Lyria in the middle and the rest of his unit covering their backs. The princess said nothing, but her skin kept changing colors. Purple anger, blue confusion, colors Tay didn't understand. A wall exploded inward. Skrull soldiers poured through, their insect bodies covered in black armor. They opened fire immediately. Tay's team returned fire, backing toward a defensible position. "Get the princess to safety," Han Wu ordered over the radio. "That's priority 1. Tay saw movement from the corner of his eye. A Skrull was aiming some kind of energy weapon directly at Yuna. She didn't see it. There was no time to shout a warning. He threw himself in front of her. The blast hit him in the chest. It felt like being struck by lightning and fire at the same time. He flew backward, hitting the wall hard. His armor had taken most of the impact, but he could feel broken ribs. Pain filled his chest with every breath. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard Yuna screaming his name. He saw her dragging him behind cover while the others kept firing. And he saw Princess Lyria staring at him, her skin flickering rapidly between violet and blue, anger and confusion mixing together. "Why?" her expression seemed to ask. "Why would you do that?" But Tay couldn't answer. The pain was too much. Everything started to go dark around the edges. He heard more weapons fire, felt the station shaking, heard people shouting. Someone was lifting him, carrying him. The last thing he saw before unconsciousness took him was Princess Lyria's face. Her skin was glowing a color he hadn't seen before, a soft, uncertain blue that looked almost like wonder. When the survivors counted heads later, everyone from the conference had made it out. 0 VIP casualties, 3 wounded soldiers. Tay was the worst of them. But he would live. Princess Lyria stood in the escape ship, watching the medical team work on him. Her guards tried to get her to sit down, to rest, but she wouldn't move. She kept staring at the human who had thrown himself in front of his teammate without hesitation. He had nearly died protecting someone else, someone who couldn't have protected him in return. It made no sense. In Valtheri society, the strong protected themselves. The weak served or died. There was no middle ground. But this human, this Kang Tay, had chosen differently. He had chosen to be the shield for someone weaker, and the choice had nearly killed him. For the first time in her life, Princess Lyria wondered if she might be wrong about humans. The thought was small and uncomfortable, like a stone in her shoe. She tried to ignore it, but it wouldn't go away. The doctors said Tay was lucky. 3 broken ribs, severe burns across his chest, and a concussion. But he would recover. He spent 2 weeks in the medical bay while Earth's government negotiated the new alliance. The attack on Helios Gate had changed everything. The Skrull were becoming bolder, attacking both human and Valtheri territories. Earth needed protection. The Valtheri needed allies who could think differently in combat. Neither side liked it, but they agreed to a trial alliance. What nobody expected was Princess Lyria's demand. She wanted to command the Joint Task Force herself. She told the Council she wanted to see how inferior humans performed in real combat. Everyone knew she was lying, but nobody could prove it. Tay learned about this when Captain Han Wu visited him in the hospital. "You're being assigned as her liaison," Han said, looking uncomfortable. "Me? Why?" Tay asked. "She requested you specifically." Han shrugged. "Maybe she wants to study the human who jumped in front of a plasma blast. Or maybe she's planning to make your life miserable. Either way, you're stuck with her." When Tai was cleared for duty, they brought him to the flagship Radiant Dawn. The ship was Valtheri design, all elegant curves and glowing crystals. It made human ships look like boxes with engines. Princess Lyria was waiting in the conference room. Her skin was calm purple when he entered, almost neutral. "Soldier Kang Tay," she said. Not a greeting, just a statement. "Your Highness," he saluted. "Tell me why you did it." She leaned forward. "At the station, You nearly died for someone who could not save you in return. Explain this to me." Tay thought about his answer carefully. "She's my friend. Friends protect each other." "Friends?" Lyria said the word like it was foreign. "You mean allies based on mutual benefit?" "No. I mean people who care about each other, who would sacrifice for each other without expecting anything back." Her skin flickered blue. Confusion. "That is inefficient." "Maybe," Tay said, "but it's what makes us human." Over the next few days, the Joint Task Force came together. Human soldiers mixed with Valtheri warriors. The Valtheri were stronger, faster, and had telekinetic powers. They made sure the humans knew it. But Captain Han Wu was patient, showing them human tactical innovations that had won battles against superior forces. During one briefing, Lyria dismissed a human suggestion as primitive thinking. Han calmly pulled up battle data from the colony wars. "Our unconventional strategies have a 78% success rate against technologically superior enemies, Your Highness. We win because we think differently." Lyria stared at the data. She said nothing, but her skin flickered between colors. Tay was learning to read her moods. Purple was anger. Blue was confusion. White was intense emotion. And sometimes, just sometimes, she showed a faint pink that might have been interest. The first real mission came quickly. Skrull forces had taken a mining colony on Taros Moon. 3,000 colonists were trapped. Half were human, half were from other species, including some Valtheri civilians. "A simple extraction," Lyria announced. "My warriors will handle the ground assault. The humans will provide support." Tay kept his mouth shut. Han gave him a look that said, "Let her learn." The assault started well. Valtheri warriors telekinetically threw Skrull soldiers around like toys. Their superior technology cut through the enemy defenses. Then the Skrull revealed their trap. Hidden reinforcements poured out of underground tunnels. 10 Skrull for every 1 Valtheri. The Valtheri warriors, used to individual superiority, started to fall back. They weren't trained to fight when outnumbered. Lyria watched from the flagship, her skin turning white with shock. "Human ground team, this is Ty," he said into his comm. "We're going in." "Negative," Lyria's voice crackled. "I did not authorize this." "With respect, Your Highness, those colonists will die if we don't act now." Tay led his squad onto the surface. Yuna was with him, along with a young soldier named Jay and a dozen others. They hit the Skrull from unexpected angles using human tactics, guerrilla strikes, false retreats, coordinated fire patterns that compensated for their weaker weapons. It was insane. It was desperate. But it worked. The Skrull didn't know how to handle enemies who fought like humans. They were used to straightforward combat. Ty's team kept them off balance long enough for the colonists to reach the evacuation ships. But there was a price. Tay's team got cut off from the retreat. The Skrull surrounded them. Tay ordered everyone back, but he stayed to cover them. He had the most combat experience. He could buy them the time they needed. That's when the Skrull commander found him. The massive insectoid grabbed Tay with its claws, lifting him off the ground. Through his helmet camera, the whole fleet watched. "Tell us your defensive positions," the Skrull commander clicked in broken human language. "Tell us, and you live." Tay laughed. It hurt his still-healing ribs, but he laughed anyway. "You clearly don't know humans." The Skrull started hurting him, breaking fingers, crushing bones. The camera feed showed everything. On the flagship, the bridge crew turned away. But Princess Lyria watched every second. She had never felt anything like this before. Anger, yes. But this was different. This was watching someone suffer because they chose honor over survival. It made no sense. By every logical standard, Tay should tell them everything and save himself. But he didn't. Even as they broke him, he stayed silent. "Prepare a strike team," Lyria said suddenly. Her skin was burning white. "Your Highness, 1 soldier is not worth," her advisor began. "Now!" The word came out with such force that the crystals in the walls resonated. Her skin flashed so bright that people had to look away. She led the rescue herself. The Valtheri dropships hit the scrawl position like hammers. Lyria used her telekinetic power to tear through the scrawl ship's hull, ripping metal like paper. Her guards followed, but they could barely keep up with her rage. She found Tay in a cell, barely conscious. His armor was destroyed, his body was broken, but when he saw her, he tried to smile. "Your Highness," he whispered, "you shouldn't have come. Not worth it." Then he passed out. Lyria lifted him with her telekinetic power, gentle as a feather despite her anger. She carried him back to the ship personally, not trusting anyone else. In the medical bay, she stood watch while the doctors worked on him. Her guards told her to rest. She ignored them. She stood there for hours, her skin cycling through colors she didn't understand. Why had she risked the mission for one human? Why did the thought of his death make her feel like something was breaking inside her chest? Why did his words, "not worth it," make her so angry? Yuna found her there at 300 hours. The young human woman walked up nervously. "Your Highness? Can I ask you something?" Lyria nodded, still watching Tay through the medical bay window. "Why did you save him?" It was a simple question. Lyria should have had a simple answer. Strategic value, diplomatic concerns, maintaining morale. But those were all lies. "Because he would have done the same for me," Lyria said quietly. "Even though I have been cruel to him, even though I called his species parasites, he would have saved me anyway." Yuna smiled. "Yeah, that's Ty. That's just how he is." "Your species is strange," Lyria said. Her skin was glowing a soft, iridescent pink. She didn't know what that color meant. She had never displayed it before. "Maybe," Yuna said. "But we take care of our own. And Tay, he thinks everyone is worth saving." After Yuna left, Lyria stayed. She watched the human warrior sleep, his chest rising and falling with each breath. He had nearly died twice because he put others first. It was illogical, inefficient, completely against everything she had been taught about strength and power. But it was also the bravest thing she had ever seen. For the second time, Princess Lyria wondered if she was wrong about humans. This time, the thought was bigger. This time, it demanded an answer. Tay woke up 3 days later. The first thing he saw was Princess Lyria sitting in a chair next to his bed. She wasn't doing anything, just sitting there. Her skin was a soft blue color. "Your Highness," he said, his voice rough, "you don't have to be here." "I am aware," she said, "yet I am here anyway. Perhaps you are infecting me with your human illogic." He tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. She stood and pressed a button that called the medical team. Within minutes, Nari the medic was checking his vitals and adjusting his medication. Nari treated everyone the same, whether they were human or Valtheri. Some of the Valtheri warriors had started to respect her for it. Over the next week, Lyria visited Ty every day. She told herself it was to interrogate him about human tactics. That's what she told her guards too, but really, she just wanted to understand. "Tell me about Earth," she said one afternoon. So Tay told her. He told her about oceans and mountains, about cities that reached the sky, about the colony wars where humans fought each other before they ever met aliens. He told her about humanity's long history of fighting against impossible odds. "We've always been the underdog," he said. "Always fighting things bigger and stronger than us. So we learned to be smart. We learned to work together. And we learned that sometimes you have to stand and fight, even when you know you'll lose." "Why?" Lyria asked. "If you know you will lose, why fight?" "Because some things are worth dying for. Freedom, family, friends, the people who can't fight for themselves." Lyria was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "In Valtheri culture, the strong rule, the weak serve. This is the natural order. What you describe is chaos." "Maybe," Tay said, but it's a chaos that cares about people. What's the point of being strong if you don't use that strength to protect others? Her skin flickered rapidly through several colors. He had hit something important, but he didn't know what. The next crisis came a week later. Intelligence reported that the Skrull were building a superweapon on a fortress world called Krellnak. If they completed it, they could destroy entire planets. The Valtheri Council voted to abandon the sector. It was too far, too dangerous, too costly. Lyria argued against them. She presented the human tactical data. She showed how a small force could succeed where a large one would fail. Her father, Emperor Vexthar, watched the council debate through hologram. When Lyria finished speaking, he spoke. "My daughter, you are beginning to think like a human. This concerns me." The council chamber went silent. To say someone thought like a human was an insult among the Valtheri. Lyria's skin flashed white, but she held her ground. "Perhaps thinking like a human is not a weakness, Father. Perhaps it is a different kind of strength." The Emperor ended the call. The council rejected the mission. That night, Tay found Lyria on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. "I heard about the council," he said. "They are fools," she said, her skin dark purple. "That weapon will kill millions. But they only see the cost of acting, not the cost of doing nothing." "Then we go anyway." She turned to him. "The mission is forbidden." "I'm volunteering for a reconnaissance mission. Can't forbid something if you don't know about it until after." He smiled. "Very human thinking, right? You are still injured. You cannot fight at full capacity." "I've never fought at full capacity against the Skrull. We're always outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time. This is just another day." Lyria stared at him. Then she said, "I forbid it. As your commanding officer, I order you to stand down. With respect, Your Highness, you can stop me with your powers. You can throw me in the brig, but you can't stop me from believing this is the right thing to do." They stood there, facing each other. Tay waited for her to use her telekinetic powers to force him to obey, but she didn't. She just kept staring at him with those crystalline eyes. "Your species is impossible," she finally said. "Thank you." That was not a compliment. "I know." Late that night, Lyria accessed the human database. She started reading their history, their wars, their literature, their philosophy. In Valtheri culture, there was no concept of friendship as humans understood it. Relationships were based on power and mutual benefit. But humans had something else. They had bonds that transcended logic. She found herself reading about soldiers who threw themselves on grenades to save their squad, about ordinary people who ran into burning buildings to save strangers, about a species that kept choosing others over themselves again and again, even when it made no sense. The next day, she found Tay in the training room. He was practicing with his rifle, his movements still slow from his injuries. "I have been reading about your people," she said. He lowered his weapon. "And? You have a saying, 'Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends.' This is a common theme in your culture. It is. We have no such saying. We have no word that truly means friend as you use it. Our relationships are all about power. Who serves whom? Who owes what?" Tay set his rifle down. He walked over to her and held out his hand. "Then let's be the first human Valtheri friends. No power, no debt. Just two people who respect each other." Lyria looked at his hand. Her skin cycled through a dozen colors: red, blue, purple, white, colors she had never shown before. This was against everything she had been taught, everything she believed. But Tay had saved Yuna without expecting anything in return. He had refused to betray his people even under torture. He had called her out when she was wrong, and he was offering her something no Valtheri had ever offered another: friendship without conditions. She didn't take his hand, not yet. But something shifted inside her, like a wall beginning to crack. "I need time to think," she said. "Take all the time you need." But time ran out faster than either of them expected. That night, alarms blared throughout the ship. Tay ran to the bridge and found chaos. A Valtheri commander named Aaron had been arrested. He had been feeding intelligence to the Skrull, trying to sabotage the Alliance. "He wanted us to fail," Captain Han Wu explained. "He wanted the Skrull to destroy humanity so the Valtheri wouldn't have to deal with us." Aaron was being held in the brig, but he had allies. 3 of them attacked during the prisoner transfer. They were trying to kill Aaron to silence him, but Tai and his team were guarding the corridor. The fight was brief and brutal. The Valtheri attackers used their telekinetic powers, throwing Tai's people around like dolls. Tay managed to hit one with a stun round, but another focused all his power on Tay. He felt invisible hands crushing his throat. Then Lyria was there. She moved faster than Tay had ever seen anyone move. One of the attackers was aiming an energy weapon at Tay's head. Lyria threw herself between them. The blast hit her directly. Her crystalline skin cracked like breaking glass. She fell, and Tay caught her before she hit the ground. "No, no," he said, lowering her gently. Her guards secured the attackers, but Tay only saw Lyria. Her skin was glowing gold, bright, brilliant gold that lit up the whole corridor. Tay didn't know what it meant, but the Valtheri guards did. They stared in shock. "Get medical here now!" Yuna screamed into her comm. Lyria's eyes focused on Tay. She raised one hand slowly, painfully. She placed it in his hand, the hand he had offered her earlier. Her fingers wrapped around his. "Friends," she whispered. "I understand now." Then her eyes closed. The gold light faded, but her hand stayed in his. The medical team rushed her to surgery. Tay stood in the corridor, Lyria's blood on his hands, staring at where she had fallen. A Valtheri guard approached him, an older warrior with scars across his crystalline face. "Do you know what gold skin means, human?" the guard asked. Tay shook his head. "It is the rarest color among our people. We show it only for those we would die for, those we recognize as kindred spirits, deeper than family. She displayed gold skin for you." The guard walked away, leaving Tay standing there. His hands were shaking. She had taken a blast meant for him. She had chosen him over her own safety. She had done exactly what he had done for Yuna. The thing she had called illogical and inefficient. She had become human in the way that mattered most. The surgery took 14 hours. Tay waited outside the medical bay the entire time. Yuna brought him food that he didn't eat. Captain Han Wu told him to rest. He ignored everyone. He just sat there, remembering the gold light of Lyria's skin and the feel of her hand in his. When the doctors finally emerged, they looked exhausted. "She will live," the lead surgeon said, "but the damage was severe. She needs rest and time to heal." Tay slept for the first time in almost a day. When he woke up, there was a message waiting. Emperor Vexathar was coming to the Radiant Dawn. He was coming for his daughter. The Emperor arrived with a full battle fleet. When he boarded the flagship, the entire crew stood at attention. He was larger than other Valtheri, his skin constantly shifting through deep, powerful colors. He looked like someone who had never been told no in his entire life. Tay was standing guard outside Lyria's medical room when the Emperor approached. "You are the human," Vexthar said. It was not a question. "Yes, Your Majesty. My daughter displayed gold skin for you. Do you understand what this means?" "A Valtheri guard explained it to me." "Then you understand that this is unprecedented, shameful. A princess of the Valtheri Empire bonding with a human." His skin flashed dark red, anger barely controlled. "You have corrupted her thinking." "With respect, sir, I think she came to her own conclusions." The Emperor stared at him for a long moment. Then he pushed past into the medical room. Tay wanted to follow, but he had no right. He could only wait outside and wonder what was happening. Inside, Lyria was awake. She had been conscious for an hour, but she had asked the medical staff not to tell anyone yet. She needed time to think. Now her father stood before her, and thinking time was over. "Lyria," the Emperor said, "what have you done?" "I saved a friend," she said simply. Her skin was still pale from the injury, but it glowed soft gold when she said the word friend. "You bonded with a human. You displayed gold skin for a creature beneath you. This is unacceptable. He was going to die protecting others, just like I have seen him do before, just like his whole species does. They sacrifice for each other without expecting anything in return. They call it friendship and love and honor. We call it weakness. But Father, what if we are wrong?" The Emperor's skin flashed white. "You dare!" "I dare because I have seen what humans can do. They win battles they should lose. They survive against impossible odds. They turn enemies into allies. Not through power, but through this thing they do. This choosing of others over themselves." "Enough!" The Emperor's voice shook the medical equipment. "You will return home with me. You will undergo re-education to purge this human influence from your mind. This alliance experiment has failed." "No," Lyria said quietly. The word hung in the air. In all her life, she had never refused her father. The Emperor stared at her as if she had grown a second head. "What did you say?" "I said no, Father. I will not return. I will not abandon this alliance. And I will not pretend that what I have learned from humans is wrong when I know in my soul it is right." "You would choose them over your own people? Over your family? Over your empire?" Lyria's skin glowed brighter gold. "I choose what is right over what is easy. A human taught me that." The Emperor was silent for a long time. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. "Very well. In accordance with ancient law, I hereby exile you from the Valtheri Empire. You are no longer my daughter. You are no longer princess. Your powers will be bound so you cannot use them against us, and you will be cast out." "I understand," Lyria said. Her skin was still gold, but now it was mixed with blue. She was sad, but she was certain. "You do not understand the gift I am giving you," the Emperor said. "Exile is not just banishment. The binding ritual will slowly kill you. In a few months, your power will consume itself and take you with it. You are choosing death for these humans." For the first time, Lyria hesitated. Tay would have told her she didn't have to do this. He would have understood if she chose to live. But that was exactly why she had to make this choice, because he would never ask it of her. She had to offer it freely. "Then I will die free," she said. "Free to choose my own path. Free to stand with friends. That is worth more than a lifetime in a cage." The Emperor turned and left. Tay watched him go, saw the anger in every line of his body. Then 2 Valtheri priests entered the medical room, carrying strange crystalline devices. Tay tried to stop them, but Valtheri guards held him back. "It is the princess's choice," one guard said. "Do not interfere." The ritual took an hour. When it was done, Lyria's powers were bound. She could barely move a small object now. The priests told her she had 3 months, maybe 4, before the binding killed her. After they left, Tay was finally allowed in. Lyria looked tired but peaceful. "You heard?" she asked. "I heard. Why didn't you tell me? You would have told me not to sacrifice myself, just like I once told you." She smiled, and her skin glowed faint gold. "Now we are even." "This isn't funny." "I know, but Tay, I finally understand what you and your people have been trying to show me. Life is not about power, it is about purpose. And I have found my purpose. I want to stand with you against the Skrull. I want to prove that the alliance can work, and I want to do it as your friend, not as a princess giving orders." Outside, the Emperor's fleet was leaving, but not all of it. Some of the Valkyrie ships stayed behind, young officers who had fought alongside humans, warriors who had learned to respect their courage. They approached Captain Han Wu and volunteered to continue the mission against the Skrull. "The princess was right," one of them said. "You humans fight for something greater than yourselves. We want to learn how to do the same." In the strategy room, Mina the engineer presented new weapons that combined Valkyrie technology with human ingenuity. Han Wu rallied the remaining forces. They still had a chance to stop the Skrull weapon, but it would take everything they had. "It is a suicide mission," one Valkyrie officer said bluntly. "The fortress world is too well defended." "Then we do what humans do best," Tay said. "We find a way to win anyway." Lyria stood next to him. Without her powers, she looked smaller somehow, vulnerable, but her eyes were fierce. "I am coming with you." "Absolutely not," Tay said. "You're injured and powerless. You'll be killed." "Probably," she agreed. "But you taught me that some things are worth dying for. Let me fight for what I believe in. Let me fight for you." They stared at each other. Tay wanted to argue, wanted to protect her, but he saw the determination in her eyes. She had given up everything for this. Who was he to take away her choice? "All right," he said, "but you follow my orders. You're part of my squad now." "I would not have it any other way," she said. The assault fleet prepared to launch. Everyone knew the odds. The Skrull fortress world was nearly impregnable. Even with the remaining Valkyrie ships and Earth's best soldiers, they were badly outnumbered. The night before they launched, Tay found Lyria on the observation deck again. She was looking at Earth in the distance, a blue marble in the black. "Is it beautiful?" she asked. "Your world?" "Yes. Maybe when this is over I can show you. Oceans, mountains, sunsets, all of it." "That would be nice." Her skin flickered, and for a moment she showed pink. Hope. "But we both know I will not survive long enough." "Don't say that." "I am not afraid, Tay. For the first time in my life I am not afraid, because I know what I am fighting for." They stood in silence, watching the stars. Two warriors from different worlds, about to face impossible odds together. Tay thought about everything that had led them here. The contempt in her eyes when they first met. The confusion when he saved Yuna. The respect that grew between them. The friendship that shouldn't have been possible. "Thank you," he said quietly. "For what?" "For changing. For giving us a chance. For showing that even ancient prejudices can be overcome." Lyria's skin glowed soft gold. She reached out and took his hand again, like she had when she was injured. "No, thank you. For showing me what it means to be truly strong." The assault ships launched the next morning. Destination: Krelnak. Mission: destroy the Skrull superweapon or die trying. Everyone aboard knew they probably wouldn't come back. But as Tay looked around at his squad, Yuna checking her weapons, Jay reviewing tactical data, Mina finalizing the engineering plans, and Lyria standing beside him without her powers but with more courage than he had ever seen, he felt something unexpected: pride, hope, and the absolute certainty that they were fighting for something that mattered. Krelnak was a nightmare made real. The Skrull fortress world looked like someone had built a planet out of weapons and anger. Black towers rose from the surface, each one bristling with defense systems. Ships patrolled in perfect patterns. It was designed to be unbeatable. "That is the most heavily defended position I have ever seen," the Valkyrie commander named Ren said quietly. "Good thing we're not planning a fair fight," Tay replied. The plan was simple in concept, impossible in execution. A small team would land on the dark side of the planet while the main fleet distracted the defenses. They would infiltrate the weapon facility, overload the core, and escape before it exploded. The problem was that every part of the plan required perfect timing and incredible luck. "Remember," Captain Han Wu said over the comm, "we only get one shot at this. Make it count." The assault began. The Allied fleet dropped out of hyperspace and immediately came under fire. Scrawled defense platforms lit up the darkness with weapons fire. Ships on both sides started dying. Tay's dropship, carrying him, Lyria, Yuna, Jay, Mina, and a mixed team of humans and Valtheri used the chaos to approach from the opposite side. They flew low and fast, using the planet's magnetic field to hide from sensors. 30 seconds to landing," the pilot announced. Lyria checked her weapon for the third time. Without her telekinetic powers, she had to fight like a human. She had been training with Tay for the past week, learning to use rifles and tactics instead of abilities. Her hands shook slightly. Tay noticed. "You okay?" "I am terrified," she admitted. Her skin showed blue. "I have never gone into battle without my powers. I feel naked." "Welcome to being human. We're always terrified. We just don't let it stop us." They landed hard. The team moved quickly toward the facility entrance that Mina had identified. Skrull patrols were everywhere, but the main battle in orbit was pulling most of their forces away. "This is almost too easy," Yuna muttered. She was right to be worried. They were halfway to the entrance when alarms started screaming. Automated defenses activated. Gun turrets rose from the ground. "Run!" Tay shouted. They sprinted for the entrance as the turrets opened fire. Ren used his telekinetic powers to deflect some shots. Jay laid down covering fire. They made it to the entrance, but 2 team members didn't. A human soldier and a Valtheri warrior cut down in seconds. "Keep moving!" Han Wu's voice crackled over the comm. "The fleet can't hold much longer." Inside the facility, they encountered the real defenses. Skrull warriors poured out of side corridors. The team fought through them, but casualties mounted. Another human, another Valtheri. The mixed team was becoming smaller with every corridor. Lyria fought beside Tay, her movements awkward compared to her former grace. But she never hesitated. When a Skrull nearly got behind Tay, she shot it without thinking. When the way forward was blocked, she helped Mina set charges to blow through the wall. "You are doing well," Tay told her during a brief moment of cover. "I am barely surviving," she said, reloading her weapon. "That's what humans do best." They reached the core chamber. The Skrull weapon was massive, a crystalline structure that pulsed with stolen energy. Mina immediately started analyzing it. "I can overload it," she said, "but someone needs to stay behind to complete the sequence. The fail-safes are manual. They can't be hacked remotely." Everyone went quiet. They all knew what that meant. This was the one-way trip they had known was coming. "I will do it," Ren said immediately. "My telekinetic abilities make me best suited." "No," Tay interrupted. "You need to get everyone else out. I'm staying." "Negative," Han Wu's voice came through. "Tay, that's an order. Find another way." But there was no other way. Mina showed them the system. Someone had to physically input commands every 30 seconds for 5 minutes. If they stopped, the fail-safes would reset. If they left, the weapon would fire. Earth would die. "I am staying," Lyria said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. Her skin was calm blue, peaceful and certain. "Absolutely not," Tay said. "Listen to me, all of you." She looked at each team member. "The binding ritual is killing me. I have weeks left at most. But Tay, you have your whole life ahead of you. Yuna has family on Earth. Mina's engineering is needed to maintain the Alliance. Every one of you has a future." "Lyria," Tay started, "you showed me what it means to sacrifice for something greater. You showed me that true strength is choosing to protect others. Let me use my last days for something that matters. Let me save your world." "No," Tay said. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way." She grabbed his arm. Please, you asked me once what makes someone strong. I know the answer now. It is this moment, this choice. Let me be strong in the way you taught me. Tay stared at her. He wanted to argue. He wanted to force her to leave, but he saw the determination in her crystalline eyes. This was her choice, her sacrifice, and taking it from her would dishonor everything she had become. I hate this, he whispered. I know. Her skin glowed gold. But you understand it too. That is why we are friends. Outside, the battle was getting desperate. The Skrull were activating the weapon early. If they waited any longer, it would fire before they could sabotage it. We are out of time, Ren said urgently. Lyria moved to the control panel. Mina showed her the sequence. It was simple but required constant attention. Lyria nodded. She understood. Everyone out, she ordered. That is not a request. I am buying you 5 minutes. Use them. The team started moving. Tay was the last to go. At the corridor entrance, he stopped and looked back. Lyria was already starting the sequence, her fingers moving across alien controls. Lyria! She turned. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Everything they wanted to say but couldn't. Everything that might have been if the universe had been kinder. Kang Tay, she said, you asked me once what makes someone strong. It is not power. It is choosing to be better than you were before. Thank you for teaching me to be human. The door started closing. Tay wanted to run back to drag her out, to do something. But Yuna and Jay were pulling him away. The facility was starting to shake. We have to go! Yuna screamed. They ran. Behind them, the core began to overload. Tay could hear the countdown in his head. 5 minutes. 4.5. 4. They made it to the dropship. The pilot lifted off immediately, flying hard and fast away from the facility. In orbit, the fleet was pulling back. Everyone knew what was coming. 30 seconds, Mina said, watching her instruments. Tay looked at the planet below. Somewhere in that fortress, Lyria was still at the controls, still inputting commands, still choosing others over herself. 10 seconds. He closed his eyes. Goodbye, friend. The planet exploded. The Skrull weapon, overloaded beyond its capacity, took half the fortress world with it. The shockwave hit the fleeing ships, sending them tumbling through space. But they had gotten far enough. They would survive. Lyria would not. The journey back to Earth was quiet. The Alliance had won. The Skrull threat was ended. But the cost had been terrible. 32 humans dead, 17 Valtheri, and 1 princess who had given up everything to save a species she once despised. 3 months later, Earth held a memorial ceremony. Lyria's name was engraved in stone alongside human warriors. It was the first time an alien had been honored this way. Emperor Vexithar attended, his skin gray with Valtheri mourning colors. He approached Tay after the ceremony. My daughter died believing she did the right thing. She did, Tay said. She saved millions of lives. She also saved something else. The Emperor looked at the memorial. She saved my eyes. I was wrong about humanity, wrong about strength, wrong about what truly matters. My daughter's death has sparked change across the Valtheri Empire. Young people question the old ways. They speak of the princess who became human. The Emperor held out his hand, a very human gesture. I propose a true alliance, not vassals and masters, equals, partners, as my daughter would have wanted. Tay shook his hand. She would have liked that. 1 year later, Tay visited the memorial garden again. It had grown. Human and Valtheri soldiers who died together were now honored together. He placed flowers on the stone with Lyria's name, a human custom he had taught her about once. Someone approached. A young Valtheri woman with skin that glowed soft blue. She bowed respectfully. Soldier Kang Tay? I am Nara, sister of Commander Ren who died with the princess. I wanted to meet you. Your brother was brave. He fought well. Thank you. I also wanted to tell you something. The Valtheri are building a memorial garden on our homeworld. We are calling it Lyria's Light. It is a place where we honor those who taught us to be better than we were. She paused, then said, I came to Earth to learn. Will you teach me about humans? Like you taught the princess? Tay looked at this young Valtheri, eager and uncertain. He thought about Lyria, about how she had changed from someone who despised humans to someone who died for them, about how one person's courage could change an entire empire. I would be honored, he said. They walked through the memorial garden together, human and Valtheri, talking about sacrifice and courage and friendship. Above them, the stars shone bright. And somewhere up there, Tay liked to think, a princess watched and smiled, because she had proven something important. That being human was not about the species you were born as. It was about the choices you made, the sacrifices you accepted, the people you chose to stand beside. Princess Lyria had despised humans once, but in the end, she became the most human of all.